Saluto a tutti.
What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we just dropped the live watch along, and now joined by Joe Cappuccino, we're going to tackle the post-match podcast where we're going to actually get into everything: performances, man of the match, player ratings. There's a lot to talk about, even for what was a 2-1 victory for Juventus, but it was stressful. Okay, and we did see a lot of changes, a lot of players, interesting substitutions, and a lot to cover. Joe, thanks for joining me, my friend.
Always,
All
Al.
right.
Always a good
And
time.
after this, we get right into just enjoying the holidays, all right? But we got to talk Keenan Yildiz. We got to talk Vlahovic. We got to talk Illing Jr. We got to talk Hans Nicolucci Caviglia. There's a lot to tackle in this one, okay? We're going to kick things off with the starting lineup. I mean, I know that we realized that Chiesa wasn't going to be able to make this one, okay? And obviously, patellar tendon injury. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit later on, because there's a storm the barn from our friend Alex, who actually sent it in, that's very, very interesting in regards to everything that's going on. All right, and do want to take a second to say what's up as everybody starts to trickle in here. Jace KP, what a goal from Keaton. LA Juve, absolutely, and hello LA Juve. All right, happy holidays to everybody. We're gonna get in here. Ciao Bartula Juve fan. Now, starting lineup, we knew we had Albanese come out and say Yildiz was going to start and be one of the first ones. I will say this: when it comes to general news, rumors, mercado, whatnot, he's not very solid whatsoever. When it comes to lineups, he's pretty damn good, Albanese, when it comes to lineups. So I was pumped about it. I said, hey, let's get going with this. Just play him. Let's see what he can do. We're going to talk about his performance and maybe something else. Yesterday, the theme of the preview show from me, my only criticism I said remaining for Max Allegri is just maybe not trying enough or as much with the personnel we currently have to try and get that balance and just, even things out and make us a little more dangerous across the lineup from one side to the other, and just bring that extra bit of support for our attackers. Because even though we can say, we have to have these guys firing and everything, we gotta be able to see there's more we can do there. You think that's a fair criticism I have of Max there, and probably the only one? Do you have any more criticisms of Max beyond that, Joe?
No, I think your criticisms are completely fair. Maybe this is a little bit less on Max, but I think that this game showcased just how slow our passing game can be, and just how off pace it is compared to some of the other teams in Serie A. And maybe that's I don't know if it's just a midfield issue. I don't know if it's a whole team issue. I don't know if it's a Max issue, but that was something that was really highlighted to me with this game. Like, you could
Yeah.
see the clear difference between Frosinone and their passing game, them making runs, et cetera, versus us. Yeah, we still came out with the 3 points, but I think that we really need to work on that part of our game.
Yeah. Swati, no update yet, but I am keeping tabs on everything that's coming in the aftermath for news, for updates, and we'll try and update this live as we go through this, all right? We do have to get the housekeeping out of the way. Anyone that's tuning into this on audio outlets, get over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Again, a lot of love goes out to our friends at all the Juventus official fan clubs of North America. We are the official voice and channel for them. And beyond North America, please show some love and join your local official fan clubs, all right? Now, for ways to support, we thank you, everybody, for the incredible support we've received this year, all right? There's obviously the merch store. There is Super Chat that's enabled. And then, of course, you can become members. And we saw 2 members-only chats where you could come on and run the show, and I'll gladly take the host hat off and just chat Juve with you, all right? And those are great. So take advantage. All of you that are currently members, reach out. Let's plug you into the AJC chat, and maybe you want to run a show sometime. called Off the Record with Berto, where everything is fair game. Now, I think that's fair when talking about our passing, Joe, and how Frosinone operates and whatnot. And really for us, that for me does also tie into just execution and the passes, the decisions the players are making. I think we were playing in this one with a good pace, a good tempo at the start. It's like we got that goal though and then slowed right down. I've been saying this for quite some time. I think when we try to slow things down, we cannot do so effectively. We become very, very poor in ball retention. And when we do not keep that tempo and that quicker tempo, quicker pace, we look dreadful. We look very, very dreadful. We'll talk about this one because the youngster, and I guess we'll go our starting lineup. We talked about Yildiz ends up getting that start, which was awesome to see next to Milik. At the back, you had Chesney, Danilo, Bremer, Sandro. We all know I would not have started Sandro. I just think Rugani has been doing a great job. He deserves it. I play him in here.
Mm-hmm.
We will talk about Sandro as that was something that came to halt in this game. You got Cambiaso, McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot, Kostic across the middle. Yildiz and Milik, okay? Now we will get to the actual match itself. We didn't have to wait very long, man. And this goal was unbelievable from Kenan Yildiz. This was incredible. So, a little bit of pressure from Juventus. Turati goes to clear the ball for Frosinone, and he gets it not quite right. Sandro's able to pounce on this thing because he was forced into clearing this thing from the pressure. Sandro finds Yildiz quickly. He's quickly closed down by 3 Frosinone players. One of them, Barnechea, he slices right through them. He doesn't think twice about drilling this shot. Short side as well. Absolute thunderbolt short side. Low hard. And there you go. Yildiz, man, this goal was just sick. It was just a sick goal. Joe, thoughts on this goal, man, and Yildiz?
I'll be watching that over and over again. It's a lovely goal. Way to go, kid. It's amazing. 1, 2, 3 defenders on him. Like you said, low and hard. Boom, right there. And it's not easy. That was not an easy finish to pull off, but he made it look simple. So that just shows you.
Yeah, and speaking of untouchable, Matt, that this kid needs to be regarded as 100% untouchable. He's been the one, a lot of us have said out of these lists of players, Sule, et cetera, whatever, like you get the feeling that Yildiz he's been labeled the phenom, for a reason. None of these other guys kind of have that. But if you watched Primavera even, or Next Gen,
Mm-hmm.
like the one thing everybody said that was almost unanimous is he's too good to be playing there. He's way ahead of Next Gen. He was miles ahead of Primavera when he first came and was there. So there's something there. It's all about transitioning that into the top flight. This was a sick goal, okay? Happy for the kid. Absolutely. But Yildiz, man, we talk about the confidence. That swagger in and around the area. We've been talking a little bit as of late about execution. Our guys almost look sometimes like they're carrying a grenade in and around the area, like they're panicking. This was just beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see, man. We need more of it. Now, we'll continue on with this game and go through it, and then we'll talk about a storyline that also still includes Kenan Yildiz. All right? You carry forth. Cambiaso. Now, some in the chat were not happy about this challenge and him doing that, putting himself in that scenario, but he picks up a yellow card in the 20th minute. That isn't really a deal breaker for this game, but it takes him out of the Roma match, which I don't like. And we will talk about that as well, what we can need to do and whatnot. But, Yeah, I would have liked our backline to kind of get more involved, to kind of cover a little bit. It was like there was a gap there. He just wanted to shut it down, and he ends up taking that. Refs have not been tolerant whatsoever with any challenges from behind, albeit on the ground, sliding challenges. We've seen that with McKennie a lot. It's almost zero tolerance. And he gets caught on this one. Yellow card. We're going to have to figure out what we do for Roma with no Cambiaso. We will talk about that after we get through the rest of the talking points in this game. 27th minute. Alexandro injured. Has to be removed from the game, and Gatti comes in. And again, we have a situation where everybody's asking, why not Rugani? Because Gatti, with another card, would have been missing the Roma match. Now, he comes through unscathed. He'll be available there. But were you questioning that decision because of that, Joe? Or would you have gone to Gatti as well?
No, I mean, I would have gone to Rogani, to be totally honest, that the yellow cards stacking up do worry me. And God forbid he got another yellow that game, then we would have been down two very important players for us. So, yeah, I would have picked Rugani on that one.
Yeah, I think at the end when I look at it, if he wasn't able to go, I would have had Rugani in that starting lineup today, to be
Yeah,
honest. And
exactly.
it probably would have been a non-issue. But if Gatti had to be removed and then, you know, we had to go to Rugani, that's also not the end of the world. But we're going to talk about the backline because I kind of said, even though I know he's got the captain's armband, everything like that, I don't necessarily know if I would move away from Gatti, Bremer, and Rugani after the stretch that they went. And Danilo's performances, well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that again a little later after we get into this game, okay? But the back line is definitely a topic that some Juventini have some interesting thoughts there. 43rd minute, we get a yellow card for McKennie. We're 1-0 up. We go into halftime, okay? But we really slowed down after that goal. There were sequences here and there. I could think of several with Kostic. Yildiz sent him through free and clear. His touch let him down. Kostic needed one good touch and to hammer that thing. These are the differences, and I've said this for a while here, while we're also looking at big chances missed, shots on average and everything like that. And for me, I said the execution for me is a big issue because in general, we fall apart in moments like this when it comes leading up to shooting opportunities or quality chances. This is a prime example of poor execution, and it fell at the feet of Kostic. He had another one after a 1-2, all right, sent in on an overlapping run from Rabiot. He got it all wrong. He had a cross goal that he could have made. He did have the shot short side. He made a mess of that. He had two very important scenarios where execution absolutely crumbled. Okay. Kostic was rough. Kostic was rough today. Any thoughts on that man's performance today in that first half there, and just first half in general, Joe? Your feelings?
I mean, comment first on Kostic. That was it was it was hard. It was hard to watch at some points. I agree with a lot of what the Twitter timeline was saying about him. They were like, "God damn it!" Like hot and cold, mostly cold for that first half for Kostic. Overall, first half, I mean, we were in the lead. It was fine. A little shaky at times, but again, kind of like what you said at the beginning of the show, just high tempo in the beginning, high tempo in the beginning, but then you could kind of see they were taking their foot off the gas a little bit, and that's when we started to get complacent and mistakes were happening. It was like it's like I don't want to call it like a switch. It wasn't that instantaneous, but you could tell that there was a
Yeah.
noticeable drop in concentration, in accurate passes, the whole 9 yards. Even the defense looked like they were kind of falling asleep a little bit. But overall, first half wise, it was fine. It was fine. But
Yeah.
out of
I
10, it was like six and a
I
half, seven.
wanted them to come out second half though, and let's get the job done. Let's get the job
Yeah.
done, and maybe we could see some of these other players that we've been looking for a while to get more minutes and everything. And then you get into the second half, and my God, they make a substitution, and man, they made the substitution in the 30th minute. It was Baez who came on for Lirola, and Baez scores in the 51st minute, and this literally comes from nothing. Okay, it comes from
Mm-hmm.
nothing. And one of the good things that Kostic has been doing for us, even if we want more offensively and everything, is his defensive work. But here you have Monterisi with the ball at the back, and he just has all the time in the world. And Baez makes this run. Kostic doesn't follow. Danilo can't clean it up. This ball is actually a good ball. I will say this from Monterrey. A beautiful ball through. And Tech comes out. Szczesny comes way out. And he's easily beat by Baez. And here we are 1-1. And we slowed right down at the end of the first half, towards the end of the first half. And then we just come out flat again to start the second half. And it's brutal. It's brutal to watch. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, come on, you guys. Pick it up, get that energy up, and go. We just took way too much off the throttle. And that's the one thing. It's okay to kind of manage things and whatnot, but one goal is nothing. One goal is nothing to take your foot off the throttle. As far as I'm concerned, this team just needs to get in the habit of treating 1-0 as 0-0. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
That's what they need to do. It just 1-0 is nothing. They are far too comfortable. And that's really been something I've said the entire time, even while I'm happy with the results and the positives. Just we're way too comfortable with 1-goal leads. Way too comfortable. But they equalize. Things get really wild from a personnel standpoint right after this goes 1-1. Like, it was just boom, boom, boom. 54th minute, you get Nicolucci Caviglia coming in for Locatelli. We are going to monitor to see if we can find out some details here. Okay, so Caviglia comes in. Illing Jr. comes in for Kostic. And great. These are two changes. I mean, I would have liked Locatelli still staying out, but I've been saying I think we have some options we can work with. Again, we'll get to that after we cover this game, but Caviglia, I have no problems with. Illing Jr. for Kostic. At this point, defense is not really a concern. We have to score goals. We have to get goals. I like that reaction. I'll give credit to Max Allegri. I like that. 55th minute. Vlahovic in for Yildiz. Now, how did everybody feel about this substitute when it happened? Vlahovic for Yildiz. At that moment in time, Joe, what were your thoughts on that substitution?
I was like, we're subbing the wrong guy. Leave him on. This is the kind of game where you got to give him all the time in the world. You know, this is we should have subbed Milik. That was my first thought. I was like, we're subbing the wrong guy. This is the kind of game where Yildiz should be able to get the minutes. And yeah, sure, 55 is better than none, but like more time. I think that he could have done more. But that's my opinion.
I liked what Milik was doing overall from a hold-up standpoint. Like, I I didn't want Yildiz to leave, and I was thinking more of how can we keep Yildiz out there and bring Dushan up and still have them both out there. But Milik was doing good. I probably wouldn't have sacrificed Yildiz with just how dangerous he looked in several sequences. The vision that he was having, the distribution he was having, a couple key passes. I probably wouldn't have done that. But nonetheless, Yildiz gets substituted out. Dusan Vlahovic comes in, and that's a gutsy call based on the kid scoring 12 minutes in and what he was bringing to play and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And again, you see the reaction. So it's an interesting decision for sure. 69th minute, we get Weah coming in for Cambiaso. And this is one of the reasons why I thought we could probably maneuver. Cambiaso was taking quite a few fouls even after his yellow card. It was getting to the point where it was like, okay, we might have to take a look here. If you swapped McKennie outside to the right wing back and Yildiz stayed on and played as an advanced third midfielder, you could still have Vlahovic, and Milik up top. And that's kind of what I was getting at with my thinking. To keep Yildiz in there, I thought he should have stayed in there. Now, all in all, they make several changes at the 69th as well, with Chedira, Harui coming in. Harui having a very, very close opportunity on a shot that forced Tech to make a stop. Probably would have hit the bar and come back out, but Tech was there. Sule ends up having one opportunity that he probably wants to do better on a shot. You have, I believe it was Garitano cutting in on his right foot and slicing one that didn't miss the back post by much. All in all, Vlahovic, 81st minute, and he gets the head on this one. A perfectly headed ball, curling away, upper 90. Durati, no chance. 2-1. Hit me with that. Dusan Vlahovic. We're going to talk about Dusan Vlahovic. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful goal. Reaction, celebration, everything was fantastic. He adds another one that gets called offside, all right? Takes away my prediction, all right? And gives it back to Lex. And Lex hit the goal, scores. Her prediction was on point.
Dead on.
Well done.
Applause.
Well done, Lex. Dusan Vlahovic bags this one. Ultimately, we hang on as it's the 81st minute. I wasn't concerned with not seeing that one through at that point. Those are the kind of moments in matches where I will accept the catenaccio and see things through. We get out of it with a 2-1 victory. All right. There's nothing to be said about that goal. You know, Swati, sensational header from it is. He's got a defender ahead of him, behind him. He gets up above all and perfectly placed. Beautiful, beautiful goal. Beautiful header. And you know what? He needed it. He needed it badly. And we need him to get rolling. All right? Now, first, before we get into player ratings, everything like that, I want to know everyone's man of the match. Joe, I want to know your man of the match in this one. Who you would give it to? Would it be Dusan for the winner? Did somebody else that played in there? Who would you go with for your man of the match?
That's hard. That's hard. Of course, I want to give it to Yildiz just because he did phenomenal for the amount of time that he had. I think McKennie did have a good showing. He was back and forth. He was where we needed him. He got an assist. I think that needs to really be highlighted. So I'd give it to McKennie.
Yeah, there's a ton of shouts. Some say it's not even close. McKennie cooked. McKennie got the assist on the winner to Vlahovic there. Do have a shout for Yildiz. I think he left too early, and McKennie keeps being just too important for us. I'm going to give it to Weston as well. Just another solid showing from Weston. We are going to go through player ratings. I'm just going to give you what SofaScore kind of hit everybody with, and then we'll kind of see. So Szczesny finishes with a 6.8. I have no problems with that. 6.5 is probably good, 6.5 to 7, that range. Danilo with a 6.9, pushing 7. I didn't actually think his performance was that good, to be honest, and I probably put him somewhere around in 6.5, to be honest.
Yeah, too high.
Bremer with a 6.9. I would say Bremer could be pushing a 7. He was aggressive and he was giving Kyle George fits, and he really made life difficult for anyone he got close to off Frosinone. I'm fine with him being around a 7 in this one. Joe?
Fair. Fair.
Yeah. Sandro
Good
had a
shift from him.
6.9 before coming off. I didn't have him that high, probably just like a standard 6 or 6.5. Gatti that came in. Where would you rate Gatti as he finished with a 6.9? I think I had him around 6.5. I don't think there was anything
6.5.
crazy to be pushing, 7, anywhere around there. Cambiaso with a 7 in this game. I liked a lot of what he did, but he was making it kind of nerve-wracking with the fouls and stuff. I'd probably go 6.5 for
I think
Cambiaso.
I think seven's fair. Yeah, he was getting a little scrappy, but I think that he can tend to
Yeah.
be like that sometimes. So yeah.
Weston on a 7.3. I definitely have him at a 7 amongst the highest. I can understand if people want to push him to a 7.5. Strong
Hmm.
performance. Like we said, probably our man of the match. Locatelli with a 6.7. I had Loca probably around a 6. I don't think I even went up half a point on Locatelli today, to be honest.
Yeah, six. I would say six, between six and a half. Take your pick. What point you want to give him, but
Well, I'll say
yeah.
this. If Locatelli got a 6.7 from SofaScore, his replacement, Hans Nicolucci Caviglia, saw a 6.8 rating from SofaScore. For me, if I'm giving Loca a 6, Caviglia gets a 6.5 because he was better in this game than what
Hmm.
Loca was doing. So I think he should have a higher score. By point one,
Hmm.
I think it was actually significantly more. So that's why I'm going to give Loca 6 and Caviglia 6.5.
I
Joe?
can get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can get behind that. Sure.
Yeah. Rabiot finishes with a 7. That's probably fair, but I'd probably do it around 6.5 overall
Yeah.
on Rabiot. Kostic had a 7.5 from SofaScore. There's no chance I have him on a 7 in this game. Not for defensive, not for offensive. I got him at probably a 6.5, and that's being generous, I think. He probably should remain level at a 6, but he was active, getting involved in the final third. It just was a mess what he was doing with it. So maybe you can go 6.5, but man, there's no way he's at a 7.5 in this. So
Right.
SofaScore, I don't even know anymore what these guys are doing, or if they're putting their ratings out and wherever they are, it's 420. As far as the time goes, I don't know. Yildiz 7.4. I think is a good showing,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's that high. But
That good?
I could see him between 6.5 to 7, and I think is fair in
Oh yeah.
between those ratings. Milik with a 7. I'd probably go 6.5 on Milik there. Dusan Vlahovic 7, finishes with a 7. I mean, if we're gonna look at Dusan Vlahovic coming in for 35 minutes, okay, got 2 shots, one of them on target. He touched the ball 15 times and gets the winner. That's what we need. We need this guy to be a killer. 35 minutes, 15 touches, 2 shots, one on target, one a goal. That's efficiency. You coming out at
Hmm.
a 7? Okay, I think seven's fine, but
Give it.
probably a little higher with such limited work and the efficiency. But ultimately, we can all agree McKennie seems to be the common one
MVP.
for
Yeah.
that man of the match. Now, in terms of this game in general, again, a lot of follow up that we can talk about, especially with Roma that we're gonna have on deck. But I do want to talk about Dusan Vlahovic in general. We know it is a problem. What has been happening? The lack of goal scoring. Okay, the visible frustration from the player. Um, the fact that there was no signs of him getting going, taking that next step, and us doing anything. And this was my criticism of Max, how I want to tie him into it, is changing something to help our forwards, not just him, Chiesa as well. This goal, being clinical, everything like that, that's what we need. We just need him to fight through, do his job, and start banging in the goals no matter what. It all ends up being noise when you're at that much money that you're making, that you cost us. That's why I said, regardless of the why, the who, whatever, it's a problem. We need this guy rolling. Max said something when asked about Dusan Vlahovic, okay? And I tackled this one yesterday, and I didn't like it. And some said, well, Alberto, what do you expect Max to say about Dusan Vlahovic? And what I'm referring to is when he said that with Vlahovic, we must remember that he is 23 years old. In the last few games, he's done well technically, but he has missed the goal. I am very happy with him. It's not a coincidence that players like Rabiot didn't find balance until 27. It will happen with Dusan and Keane. So I didn't like that. And some fans kind of came at me for the short and whatnot. We're just saying, well, what do you expect him to say? Well, it's quite simple. Number one, you can't purchase a player for 80 million euros and say we have to wait 6 years. You can't expect fans to stomach that statement, whatever. No. We're not comparing the young guys that have come through academies or that have been small transfer fees to pick up that have high expectations. When you're purchased for 80 million euros, the expectations are here. Bottom line, period. Agreed?
I mean, yeah, I certainly see your perspective on that, Al. Like, imagine if Ronaldo was doing this, imagine if Ronaldo was having the kind of season that Vlahovic is having right now, he would be getting crucified, like a big money move like that.
Any big money player, okay? Obviously, we're not comparing Ronaldo to
No,
Vlahovic.
no.
We're not making that comparison, but the
No.
big money, the expectations
The
are
idea.
different than that of a youngster. I can respect Max protecting his player. What I don't like about it, okay, and what I would expect is to not rid yourself of any responsibility in it, okay? And that's what I didn't like about it. So people say, well, he's got to be politically correct in front of the cameras. Okay, how is this statement not politically correct? Okay, or you're not throwing a player under the bus by saying, yes, and acknowledging the issue, we need to get him firing. He's an important piece to our team. We have to get him firing. Saying we, accepting some of the responsibility. You don't have to come out and feed us something that we all know is not true, which is that we can wait around 6 years for... No, we potentially might not be able to wait another year based on the salary jump. So just acknowledge it for what it is. But I want Max to kind of take a little bit more into this and say, you know what? Yeah, we need to get him firing. He's important to us. He's a key piece. And we are actively working on solutions to try and support him and our other forwards better, because it's not just him. It isn't just Vlahovic. So while even myself have been hard on him and whatnot, Chiesa owns a lot of big misses to his name. Moise Kean has opportunities he should have buried. Milik has opportunities he should have done better. So I wanted Max to separate not just Dusan, but accept responsibility also from his standpoint and the team, because we are not firing in general offensively. And that's why I didn't like it. Obviously, you can do that without throwing your players under the bus. But I need Max to start accepting some of this and start figuring out some different things we can do, like what I said yesterday in terms of the lineup, okay? And different things we can try, utilizing a Kenan Yildiz. After this performance today, can Yildiz play as an advanced midfielder? Live chat, do you think Yildiz could play as that one ahead of two midfield pivots just behind two forwards. Joe, do you think he could do that?
Honestly, that's what I kind of wanted to see us start off with. Like, I wanted us to see Dusan Milik with Yildiz kind of, right in the pocket. That's what I wanted, and that's what I was kind of expecting when I heard that Yildiz was going to be starting. But yeah, I mean, I would like Allegri to kind of play with that idea, but I think that we're kind of encountering a bit of a old dog, new tricks kind of situation here. It's we'll see how much he can actually tinker with, but we might be asking a little bit too much of Max in that regard because we all know that he likes to stick to his old game plan. And going back to like his press conference, that's just typical Allegri behavior. He's sticking to a script that he has. He's never really been one to completely bash a player in a press conference, especially before a game. So yeah, I think that it's typical Allegri. You're not going to get a whole ton out of him, but that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah, and we have Mark saying Max. We know Max. I doubt he makes that change. We are not going to a two-man. Well, I wouldn't rule it out completely. Okay, and we also saw changes last season. We saw him go to that, tried to utilize a guy that's mainly a winger, has played some attacking mid in Di Maria, but I wouldn't rule it out completely. And if it doesn't happen, as I said yesterday, it is one of my really only criticisms left of Max is trying to find that tweak because I believe we're really close. I believe we're really close to taking that next step and really progressing our game. The numbers show that as well. If you're one shot a game on average behind Inter, if you're the most big chances missed in the league, if you're creating big chances at the rate of Inter, which is the bar this season based on their play and everything, it's all right there. We're not far off. But you have to take the numbers with what you see on the pitch and you have to put it all together. And while those numbers are there, even I can say there is more to our game that we could be bringing. I saw signs of it with Yildiz today. I'd like to see us go to that. He has the vision. He has great technical ability. I think you have to find a way to get him out there while still having those key guys out there to get the support from it. It can't be one or the other. You have to maybe tip the scale a little bit more one way in the direction of offensive and try to risk a little bit of something without getting crazy. For me, a 3-4-1-2 isn't going crazy. It's not like a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, like we're going wild or we're going rogue. Right. It's a very, very small change. And Yildiz was also doing defensive work out of his role today as second striker. And that would be enough defensive work out of that advanced midfielder role as well. I think it's something we should look at. Now, what are the alternatives? What else could we try? If we're talking about Max or whatever, what are some other possibilities that he could try? This is where it gets interesting because Hans Nicolucci Caviglia's performance today, I said it before, he already faced the toughest test he'll get this season by having to step into that match against Inter. Should we be going to him a little more in the midfield and maybe slot Locatelli over to try and help a little more influence out of the middle? Should we be trying that a little more?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly an idea. I know that from talking to you about it, Al, it makes sense. I know that when we're talking about a double pivot sort of partnership, I'm just wondering how that would play out like in a game. But I mean, theoretically it could work, but that is probably, like you said, that's probably something that Allegri should be looking at, like just a little bit of experimentation here and there, kind of like having the 3-4-1-2 formation. It's not something that's totally out of the question. So like, just tweak things a little bit, experiment a little bit. It's not take a little bit of a risk. We're talking about one of the most pragmatic coaches in the game who doesn't really like to take risks. So just take a little bit of a risk. Just take a little bit of one.
And here's where it gets interesting. McKennie, with what he's doing this season, cannot be denied. He can't be denied. He has to be in the lineup. So if he's not in the midfield, he gets over to the right wing back position because he has to be out there. I think he's done better from the right wing back role, and when he gets out wide this season, then out of the actual midfield position. That's me personally. And even today, early on, he was stretching Frosinone. He was getting out to that flank out of the midfield position. Okay, and then getting out there. But again, that was allowed to him based on what Cambiasso was doing, which was protecting him and coming in centrally. Cambiasso's doing well on the right side too, but you have to find a solution in the middle to get more. I still don't see it as balanced and effective to have both McKennie and Rabiot in the midfield. So while we get a question, why do you keep pushing Locatelli so much? It's because you can't have McKennie and Rabiot share a midfield, in my honest opinion. If we're looking
there's no balance there.
You have to have a little bit of some type of influence offensively from it. And if we're looking at Locatelli to do it, he's not going to do it from the regista role. And even Caviglia, when he came in there, he did a lot better today. But he was spraying the ball out wide and everything, and Locatelli was trying to do it in the first half as well, but it just wasn't for him. It was a rough day at the office for Locatelli, but McKennie makes himself a must start, and that's where it gets interesting. Cambiasso on the left side was a mixed bag throughout his minutes this season. Started off guns blazing and then faded. At the right side, it's kind of been his best. But Kostic should be looked at possibly sitting. And maybe Yildiz Jr., maybe you leave what's going on in the midfield the same, but you start playing Yildiz Jr. more. I thought Yildiz Jr. had a solid showing today. I thought he looked really, really good. What was everybody's thoughts on Yildiz Jr.? Maybe you had to rate Yildiz Jr. for this game. What would it be? Joe, how'd you feel about Yildiz Jr. today?
I mean, I wanted to see him subbed in the second half. So maybe I'm a little bit biased. I don't know. I would give him like 6.7. I thought he did pretty good for the minutes that he was given. It couldn't be any worse than Kostic, But I feel like we should, like you keep saying now, try something new. Give Yildiz some time up there, let Kostic sit on the bench. Just little things that you can try, and little differences between the players. Maybe Yildiz gives us something a little bit more that Kostic doesn't provide, and that pays off in games. We won't know. The thing that worries me about Yildiz is that, and we've mentioned it on the show before, is that it seems likely that we ship him off. It's frustrating because we don't get to see his abilities showcased that much this season at all. So it leaves a lot of what if sort of questions in the event that he actually does get sold. So that's difficult.
Yeah, but I still stand behind. We have a couple tweaks. We have options amongst the players we have to make some tweaks that probably take us that next step. And I'm standing by the fact that we're not far off. I see the comments in here in the chat just saying No, I don't want to hear about the numbers and whatever. We are far off. Look at Inter. It's a talent issue. Well, that's exactly it. It is a quality issue. It's execution. Quality executes. That's what quality does. That's what the difference is between high quality players and average players. Again, today, this game could have been 3-0. It could have been sealed in the first half. And the reason it wasn't was, a guy that's just not executing. And that is at the feet of a Kostic. If that's at the feet of Di Marco, Lautaro, or Thuram, are you going to feel more confident? Yeah, probably, based on what they're doing this season. We are not far off in terms of starting to kill games off and get it. Again, people want to talk about patterns, game plans, all this. It's literally about gaining the final third. Did we have a problem in doing that today? No. It's what happens in the final third. It's that pass. It's crossing it too early. Obviously, Mark, Inter is clear. It's the quality, though. It's the talent. It's the talent. But you have to figure out something with who you have right now. If we're sitting around waiting for the January window and some savior to come in and walk in, that's weak. We need to look at the guys we have in, whether they're 18-year-old, 21-year-old, I don't care what age they are. We have to look within. Anything that might happen in the Mercado, hopefully, would be a bonus and a luxury. We still have to figure it out with what we have. Yes, we are far away in terms of talent with that roster, but are we far away from taking a big next step with this team? No, we really aren't. There's a few minor adjustments that I think can be made with the players we use and how we line them up that probably helps everybody. Helps Vlahovic, helps Chiesa, helps everyone. We have to look at that. We can't be banking on a January savior. I don't think that's a right decision. And I also don't think we should just continue status quo with what we're doing, even though we're 1 point behind them. The results have been good. I still think we need to look for that next step. And I will say we should do that. We should do that. Agreed, Joe? Thoughts?
Agreed. Obviously, the biggest difference between us and Inter is their midfield. Their midfield just clicks. It's night and day difference. We have not figured out our midfield formula at all. And I mean, you could even see it today. We talked about it earlier in the show. It's slow passing, missed passes. We were not on top of that game at all today, especially in the second half. It was a little bit rough. So that is the biggest difference between us and Inter in terms of quality. Their midfield is the best in the league. That's what gets them going. Seriously. But in terms of Al, I think what you're saying is, when you look at the numbers, we really aren't that far off the pace in terms of big chances, shots, et cetera, with Inter. They just have a better conversion rate, and that just comes down to the little things. Like I said, the midfield being better, and their strikers just being a little bit more in tune with the midfield. But yeah, that's it. The one thing that I do want to say about this game in terms of how I saw Dusan being used, and it had to do with the goal that got called off. That was a perfect example of how you're supposed to use Dusan, in my opinion. He's not the guy who has his back to goal. He's the guy who is running at goal.
Yeah.
If you look at all of his Fiorentina goals, that is what he was doing. So we got to put him in those situations more. Milik is the guy who you can put in there and have his back to goal. He's the hold-up guy. Dusan is the run at goal and get those shots in kind of striker. So let's put him in those situations more. And I think that moving Yildiz to that center attacking mid role behind the strikers is the perfect way to do that.
Yeah, the passes have to come, and it's got to be said that Caviglia made a couple of those, and you need your midfield clicking, and more often than not, we take the safe route, the slow route. It's not enough. We need way more influence from the midfield. We still are waiting to see if we can get some type of a report on, obviously, Locatelli. We've got all eyes on Federico Chiesa. There's a wild storm the barn that came in from our friend Alex we are going to get to. Yildiz obviously celebrating like Alessandro Del Piero. Tongue out, arms out. That was a nice blast to the past there with that goal. Well, many goals from Del Piero and whatnot. But yes, we are waiting for reports. I still don't see them. But yeah, nothing as of yet. Just post-match comments from Massimiliano Allegri. Allegri himself was losing it in certain moments of this game. And if anyone pays attention to the specific moments when he's losing it, it makes you wonder how much at certain times this team falls into certain traps and whatnot from their own doing and the players rather than coaching based on moments and scenarios where he is losing it. And some of them were offensive choices, decisions and whatnot, obviously not defensive related in the final third that he was absolutely livid about. Another one was late in the game when we spent too much time worrying about making a state for calls and whatnot. It was McKennie on the sideline. He's losing on McKennie. Get back, protect the game. At that point, it was after we were 2-1 up late in the game. And he just constantly is losing on the sideline. But in certain circumstances, when he's doing that in the final third and whatnot, I really wonder, just how much is on these guys. And I've been saying this, no matter where everybody stands on players and execution and coaching, whatever, it's the hardest thing to judge from the outside looking in is where that coaching influence ends and that player accountability begins. Mm-hmm. It's almost impossible to really figure that out one way or another. Okay. Right now, again, I only have that criticism of Max. And based off what was going on last season, that's way better because I had several criticisms of Max last season. More than several, okay? Mm-hmm. So again, things are going in the right direction at least, okay? And keeping the ball out of the net, though, it all stems from that. Because while one coach like Motta is getting a ton of praise, which I find hilarious, not because he doesn't deserve it, because he absolutely does, but because his game is being called, so many different things. He's a defense-first coach. Period. Okay? Period. They're not blowing the roof off the place with goals. Their execution is fantastic. Their conversion, fantastic. Not the highest conversion rate, but for the amount of opportunities they generate, which is 3 shots less on average a game than Juventus, they don't give up goals. Motta is a defense-first coach. When you stop the goals from going in, you're always in the mix. And I understand you could say with lesser players, sure. But that doesn't change the fact, Els, our players are getting way more opportunities than Bologna to score goals. That team beat Inter with 7 shots, 2 on target, 1 big chance created. Juve's getting way more opportunities. I don't want to hear about whether they come from corner kicks, free kicks, dirty, ugly goals. Big chances are big chances. Okay? They beat Inter with 2 shots on target and 1 big chance created. They are extremely efficient. Our players need to dial up being clinical and executing much, much better. Bottom line. Quality of chance. That is what a big chance is. It's literally counting higher quality chances. The numbers are there, you guys. Mota's getting crazy praise. You know why? Because of expectations. The expectations at Juventus are always miles high. If we had the same statistics as Bologna, obviously it would be considered dog shit. But he's getting praised. Why? Why? Because of the quality of the players. Of course our expectations are going to be higher. Because we have guys like Vlahovic, Chiesa, etc. on the roster. But that is up to them to live up to that. That's how I feel.
That's true.
That
is true. The quality of the players, the expectations of the team. Not taking credit, not taking anything away from Bologna. They are having a surprisingly good season. It's just the expectations are certainly different for Bologna versus Juventus. 100%. That's where everything changes, in my opinion. So
I find it kind of funny and a little bit hypocritical to just drastically shit on one guy and massively praise another that does the same thing. I've been saying it for a while. Inzaghi is so close and similar to Max Allegri. Like, so close and similar. The difference, Mark said it earlier, the roster, the quality. One has a lot of quality at his disposal compared to the other. It's a difference. But we were talking about keeping the ball out of the net. You have to start there. Danilo's performance today, rocky, I'd say. And there's a lot I saw in the chat on the live watch along. There's a lot that I get messages about. Should we be going back to Rugani, Bremer, and Gatti as the main 3 center backs?
Yes. Yes, for me. Yes,
you would change back to that and roll with that?
I would. I mean, Rugani's in form right now. I'm still struggling to understand why Max hasn't been putting him in lately. Gatti's been great too. Of course, the whole yellow card situation is always a little shaky, but no, there's no reason that it shouldn't be Gatti, Bremer, Rugani, in my opinion. Danilo has regressed surprisingly. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but it was a little touch and go for a minute with him today. Not convincing enough. Not convincing enough.
So I'm trying to see exactly when. So we had Sandro, Bremer, Gatti against Monza. Allowed a goal. Napoli, we had Danilo in there. We did keep clean sheet. Genoa was, again, not a clean sheet, and that was Danilo in there. Today, we had Danilo in there. Again, no clean sheet. It seems to be a very, very strong amount that say yes. Skanga saying no. Danilo's second game back from injury. He was fine last game. Mark asked, can you bench your captain? I really don't think armband should have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I've been saying for a while, like, as far as one of the main things for captaincy, as far as I'm concerned, is that performance on the pitch. You have to, at like bare minimum, like, you got to lead on the pitch and by example and through your performances. So it would be an unfortunate situation for him, but it was one of the things I said about Adrian Rabiot, even wearing the armband and whatnot, is that I feel like sometimes he's ghosting. And that's not really typical and shouldn't be typical of a captain. But is Danilo our best at the back?
No.
I don't think so. After
No.
what we saw with Rugani, Bremer guy, like Bremer is
Bremer's the mainstay.
He's
regardless.
the mainstay. And I'm not saying give him the armband, but I wouldn't have any problems going away from it. Going away from Danilo, and I don't think the armband is a protection of him to stay in there if he's going to look shaky. And I think not just today, even the previous match, he's looking shaky. He's looking shaky. And when you consider the competition, no disrespect to them, I don't expect to see that many struggles. You know, it's something to think about. But Rugani, yeah, outside of that one mistake against Inter, it's rock solid.
And great. Yeah, really solid.
Does anybody think maybe you keep Danilo in, but you bring Rugani back and you sit Gatti?
I don't know anybody who actually thinks that. Maybe Skanga does, but
because Danilo has said when Gatti's out there, Danilo has to play on the left side, and he himself has said, "I do not prefer the left side. If I'm going to play as one of the three center backs, I like the right side." As a fullback, he prefers the right side as well. Obviously, he's a right-footed player. He prefers the right side. Is there anybody that thinks sit Gatti a bit and put Danilo there and get Rugani back out on the left side? I personally don't. But I think Rugani did so well that he shouldn't be completely overlooked and sat down. And Gatti, I think, needs to keep growing. I go Gatti, Bremer, Rugani, personally.
Yeah, no, I'm for that. I'm for Gatti, Bremer, Rugani personally. But before we move on, I think James LaPierre hit it on the head when, we should be probably looking at Tech taking the captain's armband. I don't see any reason not to be totally honest. He's consistent, and he's on the field and he shows it. So I think that those qualities are good. Why not?
Yeah. Skanga's going to like that one. Gatti cannot start of Danilo. Rugani does deserve more minutes. I think Gatti could probably start ahead of Danilo, especially if we're going to get showings like that today. I don't really have a problem. And I don't even really think it's that big a problem. It's actually good if we're talking like this. It would be a worse problem to say the guys on the bench have no chance of getting minutes and we don't want to see them in there. So this is a good thing. We got Roma on deck, everybody, okay? Cambiaso is going to be out for that match. How do you line us up against Roma? What do you want to see done with Cambiaso? Do you make a simple change and say, Weah, now you start, keep McKennie in the middle?
No, I want us to go with what we talked about earlier, Al, with the 3-4-1-2. I really want us to try that. Maybe Roma's not exactly the game to try that in, but why not? Really, why not? Move McKennie over to the the right wing back role, have that double pivot going with Luca or Cavilla and Rabiot, get Yildiz in the slot, Gatti, Bremer, Rugani. Why not? Why not? That's ideally what I would like. So, but that's probably not what's going to happen. Let's be real. So,
Yeah, and Roma, yeah, Dybala's battling to try and get in there, from what I hear. We'll have to see, but I think Roma at the back is so suspect. Even the middle of the park, up top.
mhm.
If Dybala gets in there, we'll have to watch him, and you're gonna know he's gonna want to get one,
Mhm.
and he's gonna want to cause some problems there. Him and Lukaku. Yeah, we'll have to be aware. Lukaku, I'm like not worried about. Like we always just seem to pocket him, so I'm like really not worried about unless they get like a PK he wants to take it. But then Dybala probably step up.
Right.
Um, Dybala's the one we'd probably have to watch. Guys like that, players like that, usually give us some issues at the back, but their midfield and their backline, like we should be able to put a few past those guys. In
Should.
terms of what I'd like to see done with Cambiasso being out, I will say this: I would probably be fine with. I still just want to keep in that theory for myself of finding a solution, finding better balance and support for the attack. I'm okay with Weah coming in and starting that game. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
You can keep McKennie in the middle too, if you really wanted to. I would also be fine if we played McKennie as a right wing back. I would be fine if Hans Nicolucci Caviglia played in the middle of the park to start that game. I would also be fine if we decided to use McKennie as right wing back to play two pivots and go with a Yildiz behind two forwards. We have to wait and see what happens with Chiesa, obviously. The last I had heard, albeit through a weak source, said that he was left at home precautionary. It is nothing to be overly concerned about. Fingers crossed there. The left side, I would probably say that, you know what, Kostic should sit a game and probably not start that one.
Yes, Al.
I
Yes, Al.
appreciate the defensive side of things and the work rate and all that. But again, when we go back to some of this team's main struggles, and execution is one of them, and being clinical, being ruthless, it's very, very infuriating. And when a lot of that final play is underwhelming from him in the final third. So you have to, next man up, and you have to look for solutions. So for me, Kostic doesn't start the next game. Tony Trim, he's with me, all right? Now, I said we were going to fire up Storm the Barn. We are going to fire up Storm the Barn, and we got one, and we were talking about fitness, Chiesa, Locatelli. I still don't see any updates out there as of yet in terms of these players. But I'm just checking again. Kyle Jorge, nothing on Locatelli. No. Now, McKennie just getting a massive amount of praise and deserved, okay? So I said we had a Storm the Barn from our friend Alex. Now, he wasn't able to tune into this podcast, all right, but he thanked me for the watch along and everything, said he enjoyed it, and great, thank you. Apologies I was late, everybody, but, it happens. Alex, so he says, if you see this, please share. I won't be able to tune in. What do we do with the Chiesa situation? He's having fitness issues regularly. His knee is still bothering him. Mentally, only it seems. Has his fair share of missed big chances as well, which he does. For me, we sell him while we can. We have to take advantage that we have a literal ready-to-go replacement. Ever since I saw Yildiz with the next gen, I've said he's a carbon copy of Chiesa. and would let us take advantage of the Chiesa price tag while it's on the up. Wow. Wow. So this is obviously what he's calling the Chiesa situation, is the fact that it appears to be happening now. And if the latest report, which I just mentioned, said that it's nothing to be concerned about with him, okay? And yeah, this is a very, very hot take. Matt says no thanks right away, but the Chiesa situation would be referring to the fact that we keep hearing about problems and then there's nothing actually confirmed. So he's thinking there's some type of mental hurdle that Chiesa can't seem to jump at the slightest knock or whatever that he feels, and thinks it's something more to it and whatnot. And obviously, we know contract situation. We could probably only extend him one more year. Vlahovic's is the one we all have eyes on because that salary jump that it's about to take. That's why I said great goal today. We need him to come up clutch and everything, but it's something we have to look at. In terms of Chiesa, Joe, how do you feel about that? I know how I feel.
I'm just like, what exactly is the situation? I don't think that there's necessarily a terrible situation going on. I think what we're dealing with is just Chiesa, unfortunately, running into some injury issues. I mean, the guy tore his ACL. You know, it's like that's a serious thing, and you're going to have a lot of far-reaching problems from that. You know, it's like I don't see Yildiz as a carbon copy of Chiesa whatsoever. Um, it's they're two different players, and they play in two different positions. It's I just don't. I get the idea of, yeah, he's running into fitness issues and not firing on all cylinders, and it doesn't exactly justify having him on the team long term. I certainly understand that, but something about it just doesn't sit right with me, and I can't quite articulate why. Maybe it's because I really like Chiesa, and like we all know what he is capable of doing.
I will
Man,
say this.
that's tough.
I don't think Juve is in a position right now. Like, I understand there's concerns, and every time this kid picks up a not, and we shouldn't even really call him a kid anymore at what, 25, 26.
Yeah, 25.
So really can't call him a kid anymore. But every time, I could call him a kid because I'm old as hell. Every time he takes a knock, okay, it's like this hard in your mouth type moment, right? Where you're like, oh my God, right?
Hmm.
And when you are getting clean reports through injuries, when you're missing games, yeah, that could be a little bit frustrating. But for me, the bigger thing looking at this Juventus is that we need as much world class and top talent as we can get. We really need to boost that. So I'd be looking at the scenario that sees both of these guys remain and not say that, okay, Yildiz is the next guy. Let's get on with this guy. I think Chiesa still has to hang around with this team. You know, we don't have a lot of world class talent. I think Chiesa is there. I would consider him a world class talent. I think he's proved it at the Euros on that stage. That level was huge for Italy. Look at
Hmm.
situations that have these guys here. Vlahovic is a bigger issue. Agreed?
Yeah, just in terms of salary and opportunities, you know. You can obviously you can say that Chiesa has missed a couple of big chances, but I feel like Vlahovic has had more opportunities and has not capitalized as much as we would expect.
Yeah.
So is it? But is it like a completely
Contractually.
Contractually,
contractually,
yes,
it's a
definitely.
it's a more pressing
Bigger issue.
situation than
Yes,
Federico
100%.
Chiesa. Chiesa, we
100%.
can get another year on the extension at pretty much the same wage.
Hmm.
That's a low wage for his player, and especially looking at our players and what they're making on the roster. Like, for me, it's not really a pressing issue for Federico Chiesa. And I don't think that there's any rush to accept his price tag right now in the transfer mercado or whatever. I just don't
Yeah,
see it.
I
I'm
don't
just
see
not
it.
there. And it is a hot take. There are a couple that agree. I don't.
Appreciate the hot takes. Appreciate the hot takes, but don't don't quite see it.
Excuse me. Let's take a look here. Oh. Better for Vlahovic. Not. Excuse me. Be a starter. Much better when he comes in second half. He will relieve him of responsibility and pressure.
It's an idea. I mean, we certainly saw that today. You can sure you can make the argument that it was against Frosinone and they're a little bit more open at the back and all that stuff. Whatever. Um, it's not a terrible idea, in my opinion. Have him come in as the super sub. That's kind of what I always thought Milik was for us, especially last season. But
I saw the same. I feel the same way about him, but Vlahovic relieving that pressure of starting, used him off the bench mainly. I don't know. It's interesting. Vlahovic spoke on this post match and said being on the bench reassured him because despite 3 good games, he's been criticized. In the half an hour, he gave us a big hand. He needs to grow. This is what Allegri said about Vlahovic starting off the bench there. In terms of Vlahovic himself, I believe he had a few words and just speaking that essentially just saying he'll always be ready. He said, bench, coach made a technical decision. I'm a professional and I always make myself available to the team. I think I did well, but I could have made more of my first chance coming on. This is something I will work on in training. I mean, we could talk about trying to do a lot of things to kind of relieve him of responsibility and pressure and whatnot, but does it ever really actually leave when you're playing at Juventus?
no.
I don't think so. So, to start him, to start off the bench, I think either decision that Max makes, he's just got to do what he did today, and that's make the most of the opportunities that do come and find ways to be effective because not all games are the same. You have to factor in
Hmm.
the opponents that you're going up against. You'll get a much different game than a team that's not Frosinone. And then you have to find your way to be effective and you have to make the most of the opportunities. That first opportunity he had that fell to him, he did very well in trapping that ball, getting everything to the shot. The shot was right at Turati, but he did very, very well in that sequence. He just has to do what he did in this 30 minutes all the time, and that's be effective. Be effective.
Yep.
Stop worrying about the non-calls. Stop throwing your stop. Focus,
Agreed.
work, get your head right. We need this guy to click from here on out. So, for me, it doesn't matter if it's bench or starter. I'm fine with it, and he needs to be ready for it. So, that's the only way I can really answer that question. But would I look to make him solely coming off the bench? No, I don't think so.
No. No.
Mark, is Moise Keane a better rapper or striker? 19F for life. Oh, man. I mean, subpar at both.
More song lyrics than goals this season. So
You know what? I'll never knock somebody. Obviously, I mean, look at this. I run a fan channel. This is not my main profession. Okay, I'll never knock somebody for following a passion project, doing anything like that. It's funny though. I appreciate the jokes and everything like that. Moise Keane, man, I think there's so much there with him in terms of ability, physical strength, and everything. But like, my God, some of the opportunities he's missed this year, I'm
Frustrating.
left wondering, like, how the hell did he not find the back of the net there? He's got to get it going. He's got to get it going. Now, today, our starting lineup only had 2 Italian players. I think this is a first. Is it? I actually think we had. Was it Pirlo's season or was it? No, it wasn't Pirlo's season. Was it last year or the year before? We had one, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was last
Yeah.
year we had one Italian.
We had one Italian. I'm trying to remember exactly what.
I'm pretty sure we had a lineup that had one in there. Yeah. I don't think it's the
We'll
first
have to
time though.
Google it.
I'm gonna say no, it's not the first time. Props to anybody who can find that though. Guys, get the likes up. Let's go. We're gonna take on a couple more Storm the Barn questions, and then we're gonna be off for the holidays. I'll still bring you a news update. I'll bring you some shorts, YouTube shorts and stuff based on some other score lines. Yeah, I might poke and prod at some of the rival fans again. I love it. You guys know I love the banter. I will say this, for any of you that are looking for Serie A based coverage outside of Juventus, and maybe, you appreciate my analysis and everything like that, the Calcio Review is another one of my projects where we focus on Serie A, and I invite guests, supporters from all other clubs, and we just chat. We recap the weekend's action, and then we preview the week to come, and we talk about all the storylines around Serie A. I would appreciate the support there if you are looking for Serie A coverage, all right? Now, Tony Trim says, starting lineup prediction for the Roma match. This is very difficult considering what's Locatelli's status, what's Chiesa's status. Cambiaso is out. I will probably give you my guess. My guess is going to be that Szczesny is in goal. I think you'll see Gatti, Bremer, Danilo. Okay? I think across the middle you will see Weah start on the right side. I think you will get McKennie. If Locatelli's fit, you will see Locatelli. If he isn't, you'll get Hans Nicolucci Caviglia. You'll get Rabiot. And I still believe you will see Kostic on that left side to start the game against Roma. Up top, I think you might get Milik and Vlahovic to start against
That would be
Roma.
my guess. That would be my guess.
That's my guess. That's not what I would do. That's my guess. Okay? Think so? You think I'm kind of onto it there, Joe? Or
I think you're spot friggin' on. Now,
if
that's
Chiesa
Allegri to a T.
If Chiesa plays though, Chiesa and Vlahovic start that game.
Yes. Yep. If he's fully fit, Chiesa and Vlahovic start up top.
Yeah. There you go. Mark, holiday start after Inter Lecce. Let's go, man. That would be a nice Christmas gift. If old Lecce finds a way. Not banking on it. Now, last one. Is it fair, to generalize players from a particular country under one umbrella? If so, should we be concerned about signing another Serbian player? Look at their national team. Always underachieving. Wow, that's actually a strong question. A really strong question. And you know what? You're not alone, Mark, because there are many that have said no more Serbs based on what we've gotten. And they actually linked Samadzic to that and saying, do not bring this guy in, not another Serb. It's not working out well. Joe, what do you think about this?
I don't like those kind. I don't like those kinds of generalizations. I don't think that the national team has real
Excuse
bearing
me.
on like.
Sorry.
I don't. No, it's all good. I don't think that the national team has any real bearing on how a player is performing during a season. Um, so it's not the benchmark that I would be looking at. It like, but look, what is it about Serbians that that people don't want them on their teams? It's like, oh, why? What does that have to do with it? Um, it's like, oh, no more Brazilians on a team. Like, what are you talking about? Why? So that's my thought on it. It's like,
Yeah, I just feel like if I'm gonna take a player, it's based on his abilities and qualities, and I'm not really gonna worry so much about where he's from. I don't look at generalizing players from countries under one umbrella. I mean, but you see it. It's not like what he's asking is so far fetched because you hear it all the time about Brazilians. Oh, you're getting Brazilians, short career span,
mm,
constantly injured. Like there are, themes
sure,
that go and are categorized to players of certain countries, and it's something that we just see time and time again. So the fact that the question's being asked is totally, valid to have that way of thinking because it's something that happens, you know
sure.
and players of countries, yeah, they can be branded, so to speak. But as far as Serbia, and if we look nationally as their team and say always underachieving, I just take it as a team. I mean, Belgium had a golden age where this was their
Right.
golden age. They won absolutely nothing. But would that make me not take Kevin De Bruyne?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I would take Kevin De Bruyne in a heartbeat over anybody in the midfield. So it's just one of those things. I don't lock in national side success or anything like that with players, and I definitely don't hold back if I want to bring a player in based on the country he's from. But I
Right.
don't think the question is so wild or far-fetched because players do get branded
No, there are
national.
trends.
Yeah. But it can happen. It can happen. Um, I always like these. I love the Fantacalcio style. Well, now we'll finish with this. If you could make three realistic signings in the summer, who would it be for you, Joe? I don't mind starting us off too if you want. Um,
Go for it, Al. Go for it, Al. The hamster wheel in my brain is spinning. So
I think it's hard to make three realistic ones because I feel like maybe only two are actually realistic. So it's
mhm.
hard to like say three realistic signings. Number one, I will say I don't think we need three signings. You know, two would be excellent. But I think guys like Samardzic are realistic. I think that is a realistic option for the winter mercado.
100%.
I think Kolpani could be a realistic option. To be honest, I think that Bernardeschi is a realistic option. And outside of that, I don't think any of the other ones are realistic. Like Coop Miner's not realistic.
Mm-mm.
Um, Kone is an interesting one. Kone could be, but I still don't think so. Berna is a realistic option. We're talking loan, and I know that nobody wants him, everything like that. I will say that on 6 months on the second half of the season, it would not be the end of the world to get a guy who's been around winning teams and everything and at least help the guys out. And at least he could fill in all the roles. Obviously, not thrive or excel at all the roles, but it wouldn't be the be all end all, wouldn't be the make or break. But Samardzic and Kolpani are realistic for
Mhm.
me, everybody knows my one guy is Samardzic. okay, I would go at Samardzic. That's just me. I would love one of those guys. Kolpani, I admire and everything, but I really do feel when you watch, and I've watched a lot since the links and everything, like Samardzic, he's a lot further ahead than definitely our guys at the comparable ages, and I think he's further ahead of Kolpani as well. But Kolpani is a good player. If we get one of those two, I'm happy. I would really, really want Samardzic. Joe?
I agree with Samardzic. Sudakov is another name that we've been linked to a lot lately. I think that he's a realistic target as well, but whether or not you think that he's the right guy, understandable. But he's another center attacking mid who could probably help us a lot.
Oh, that's my bad. He wanted to know summer, not winter.
Summer.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, either case, Samardzic is. I don't think is going. I don't know if Samardzic is going to come in the winter. But we need a midfielder. We definitely need a midfielder in the winter. Maybe it is him. I don't know.
I will say this for the summer. It's tough to tell right now because we need to know where we're going to stand financially.
Yeah.
We really need to know where that's going to be. There's a lot of things that fall in line with that. The new sponsor on the kits, a potential sale for minority shareholder, whatnot. Revenue we're going to get back from Champions League and everything. There'll be a boost. Super League.
Who knows?
Yeah, Super League's not happening. Not happening.
Who
Not
knows?
that quick. Not that quick.
You never know.
You do never know, but not that quick. It's going to be an ongoing war. But in the summer, I don't think Kefren Turam is legit. I think we're going to get priced out there, even with resource help and everything. Zielinski, I think, is potential. Zielinski, I could see maybe being potential. I don't think he would join Juventus because of his time there. So I kind of think he's not going to be there. Coop Miners, potentially, but Atalanta, I don't see Giuntoli dealing with Atalanta, to be honest.
Yeah, and we know what Omer says about Atalanta players.
Yeah, they're all on the juice.
What happened?
Yeah, and Sudakov, I think, is realistic. I would like Sudakov. I still think Samardzic. So Samardzic, Sudakov.
We need fullbacks. I just don't know who we've been linked to.
I think you need one. And, oh, man, I was always pushing for Grimaldo and wanted Juve to really get after Grimaldo. Man, is he ever doing something? Is that team ever doing something?
Mm-hmm.
But it's too early to say who's really realistic. But I like guys like that, to be honest. Sudakov, we would have to adopt... he can play as a Mitsala and advance from a Mitsala role. He's ideal if you're playing a 10. If you're playing a 10, like Sudakov's ideal. But again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You guys, we're going to wrap things up there. Hell of a day. Hell of a morning for me. 3:30 a.m. watch along, okay? Sorry again, kicked off a little bit late. You guys are fantastic as always. Joe, absolute pleasure rocking the show with you. We got Roma on deck. We found a way through this one. Again, I know we want to kill these games off. We want to do so much better, but let's just see. We're continuing to build. Max pulled some strings with the lineup that I think he deserves credit for. He didn't waste any time when we fell back to level terms and got Kostic out of there. You know, I question the Yildiz move or whatnot, but Vlahovic ended up putting in a shift, okay? So, props to Max. Made the switch. Vlahovic repaid him. We got question marks around what we could do more in the lineup. Maybe we'll see it. And maybe, you know, remember last season when we needed some injuries to show these other guys the opportunities and what they can do? Remember what Fagioli did after that opportunity? Maybe now we can get that opportunity in an unfortunate situation for a couple other players, but maybe now Yildiz gets some more opportunities. Maybe Caviglia gets some more opportunities. Let's see what happens. But Roma, I'm not worried about Roma, you guys. I think we finished there strong as well. 1 point behind. We'll see what happens with the rest of the rounds. I think we all expect the same thing, but maybe Lecce says Merry Christmas to the Juventini and one of these to Inter. We'll see. I would hope, football gods willing, hopefully we see it. But you guys, have a very, very Merry Christmas, okay? Enjoy a very safe and happy holiday season. Much love to you and all of yours. And again, I will remind everybody out there, if there are any of you that are struggling or having a hard time through this season, which it can for some, our DMs are always open and we can at least offer you a set of ears. If you don't want to talk to us, talk to somebody. It helps. All right? Take care,
Amen.
everybody. We absolutely love you. As always, fino alla fine. Forza Juventus, okay? Like, share, subscribe. Take care, everybody. Ciao.
Yeah.